4,884 minutes and 58 seconds. That is exactly how much time we had to wait for Lalo's first appearance on screen. Now you have all the calculations. And I'm already doing the math for you. It's roughly 81.5 hours. But trust me, even if that time were twice as long, it would still be worth it. Only for that mustache. The only better one was probably Aaron Taylor Johnson's on the set of Bullet Train. Moreover, Lalo had very little screen time compared to the drastic impact he had on the plot. 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 15 seconds. Flynn, Walter Jr., had nearly an hour more than that, and all he ever did was eat breakfast. In Breaking Bad, we met a ton of brilliant characters with amazing traits, but let's go a step further and extract the best trait from each character. Let's take Walter's genius.
Goddamn right.
Saul's charisma.
It's all good, man.
Mike's intelligence and calm. Gus's coldness and the ability to manipulate people. Skyler's vocal skills.
Happy birthday to you.
Okay, I'm sorry for that one. Now, let's combine all these traits into one person. We get Lalo Salamanca. Speaking of singing, that's exactly how we first met Lalo. He was preparing a meal accompanied by music, singing, dancing, being charming. As he said himself, he was preparing his dish from a secret family recipe. We know his family well.
Salamanca did, Salamanca money, Salamanca blood.
Tight, yeah!
And Lalo is a massive contrast to them. He's intelligent, well-spoken, the complete opposite of the Salamanca twins and Hector. You look at him and see a nice person. If you didn't know his family, you might even think he's just a normal, sympathetic guy. Lalo didn't appear in Breaking Bad, but he was mentioned there in Season 2, Episode 8. Walter and Jesse kidnapped Saul, put a bag over his head, drove him out to the desert, dug a grave in the sand, and made him kneel before it. What was Saul thinking at that moment? Lalo.
No, it wasn't me, it was Ignacio, he's the one! Lalo didn't send you? No, Lalo? Oh, thank God!
This situation took place around December 2008. Meanwhile, Lalo died in July 2004. Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould were very meticulous about placing props, calendars, and dates on documents. Because of that, we know that Saul Goodman lived in fear for nearly 4.5 years. He knew Lalo was dead. Mike made that clear to him. But Saul, considering Lalo's previous faking of his death, which I'll talk about later in this video, was simply terrified. He looked over his shoulder. Not a day went by that he didn't wonder if someone was out for his life. How terrifying must Lalo have been that Saul, who dealt with many unpredictable people, still had trauma nearly 5 years after his tormentor's death and immediately thought of him in a stressful situation. This seemingly innocent scene shows us what an impact Lalo had on the events of Breaking Bad, despite the fact that this scene was the only time he was even mentioned, and there was no talk of him visually appearing on screen. Lalo creates most of the characters. He lives in their heads, massacring their psyches day after day. Every villain in the Breaking Bad universe has a motive. Gus, revenge. Walt, family, his ego, money. But Lalo? He just likes it. He doesn't scream, he doesn't use violence, until he does. He's just terrifying. The coldness in his voice, that calm, melancholic yet pointed tone. Lalo reads people. He knows how to stir their emotions and senses. He has an individual approach to each of his opponents. He knows where to bite them. He has a brilliantly thought out plan and moves his pieces with the grace of Magnus Carlsen to achieve it.
Sit at the chessboard and play with yourself. It's amazing. Okay. Yeah.
He's unpredictable, but not like Tuco. He just strikes when he's least expected. We know Lalo isn't pretending. In scenes where we only see him on screen, he's still the same. He smiles to himself. His character is consistent. We know he's genuine in his actions, which makes him even more terrifying. Frank Sinatra's My Way fits his character perfectly. When Lalo talks to someone, he maintains eye contact.
Really? How lucky for me.
He has a built-in lie detector in his eyes. It runs in the family. But his detector is based on human psychology. Lalo connects the dots. He knows when someone is lying. With every sentence his interlocutor utters, Lalo looks deep into their eyes, piercing their soul with his dark, empty eyes, sowing terror in their soul, instilling uncertainty and a trembling voice. Summing that up with his immense intelligence, we have a mix perfectly suited for creating psychological profiles of his victims, and then using them for his nefarious purposes. Lalo pays huge attention to detail. For example, when Saul blurted out that he has a woman, Lalo remembered that and used it later to intimidate him. Every time he appears on screen, he steals the scene 100%. He is the most dominant, charismatic character in a world made up almost entirely of such characters. Let's analyze, for example, what his first meeting with Gus looked like.
Is there any chance, and I know the answer is probably no, but is it possible for me to meet the owner?
I am the owner.
Really? How lucky for me.
He enjoys it. He's an actor flowing with the current of a river called the game. A game that for many is their whole life, a cause for fear, the greatest life terror. But not for Lalo. He loves it. Let's look at other scenes. For example, when he followed Mike's trail and hit a certain obstacle.
I showed him everything I've got.
Show me what you showed him.
I can't. I'm sorry. You better just call the police.
Sure.
Travel Wire, this is Fred.
A young employee who was just doing his job. He wasn't a member of the game, he just happened to be in Lalo's way. He didn't have to kill him. He could have gotten that information while leaving him alive. The argument that there would be a witness to him breaking the law isn't the strongest either. Lalo doesn't care. There were plenty of examples of him breaking the law in public, like rear-ending a car in a parking lot while chasing Mike.
Get out of the way, go! Sorry, it's just not working. Web it! The north gate.
He knows that by the time the police track him down, he'll long be across the border in Mexico, hidden and safe. So Lalo killed that youth because he wanted to, not because he had to. He's a ruthless, soulless sociopath who simply derives satisfaction from his victim's fear, from the chaos he creates. But that was just the beginning of his killing of civilians. Let's now look at the Werner Ziegler arc.
Werner Ziegler?
Following his trail, he reached his wife, Margaret. She lived in Germany, so he flew there. This shows that Lalo's reach and influence aren't limited to Mexico. He is able to operate globally. When he tracked Margaret down, he followed her and tricked his way into sitting with her at a bar. Or, even better, he manipulated her so that she was the one who started talking to him. Lalo introduced himself as Ben and was incredibly charming in this scene. You could watch it for hours. Lalo just gives off such a positive aura if he wants to. He was polite, understanding, listened to Margaret, and asked about various nuances regarding her late husband. She thought she had found support, while he just wanted to find out as much as possible about Werner. He broke into her house and managed to find another clue, bringing him closer to infiltrating Gus. It was a condolence card written by Casper for Margaret. Bit by bit, he found Casper's trail. He visited him in the woods near his house.
Guten Tag!
Guten Tag! Do I know you?
I don't think we've officially met.
Lalo doesn't play around with negotiations. He chops off his foot and then uses it as an argument in the discussion, while also bandaging the wound so his informant doesn't bleed out too quickly. We don't see the exact murder scene, but based on Lalo's previous behavior, we can infer that he didn't take him to the hospital, but left him alone to bleed out. Briefly, I'd also like to point out the impact Tony Dalton, the actor playing Lalo, had on our perception of him. He did a truly amazing job. He added such predatory energy. His eyes fit the role perfectly, and it's hard for me to imagine anyone else playing our antagonist. Back to it. Lalo was likely the highest ranking of the Salamancas, along with Hector. We can guess this because many people address him as Don Eduardo,
Don Eduardo.
the same title held by Don Eladio. And as we know, he practically ran the cartel, while someone like Gus was just a subordinate to him. We see this also in the villa he lives in, a massive building with its own staff. By the way, Lalo treats them like his family. When he returned to his home after a long time away, he greeted the household members like old friends. You can see a sincere smile on him. Eduardo was raised as a very family-oriented person. We see this in the scene where Hector was nearly drowning one of the cousins when he was mean to his brother. From a young age, Lalo had it drilled into him that family is everything, and he lived his adult life according to that principle. However, with a slight twist, because his own self was most important to him, family came second. Remember when I talked about the scene where Lalo faked his death? Let's talk about it now. Gustavo Fring ordered the assassination of Salamanca. He hired a team of assassins who, with Nacho's help, entered Lalo's residence and tried to end his life. He ruthlessly used his housemate, whom he had previously treated like his own son, as a human shield. This shows that he always put himself first and used others for his gain. Setting aside how he managed to escape the death sentence, for example by dousing them with boiling water or escaping through a tunnel hidden under his own bathtub to flank them, we already know Lalo was an absolute Chad. Let's focus more on how, after killing all the attackers except one, he used that last survivor to report over the phone that the mission was a success and Lalo had been neutralized.
Les vas a hablar y les vas a decir, pero que ya está hecho.
But he knew that wouldn't be enough, and he had a plan prepared for such a moment long, long ago. Lalo had predicted in the past that he would one day need someone with a similar appearance to himself to fake his death. By the way, he must have led quite a life to actually think of that. So, he found a couple in his neighborhood. He helped them with the struggles of daily life. He gained their trust. But that was only the beginning of his plan. The most common way to identify bodies, when they are clearly unfit for identification, for example when they've been burned, is dental records. Lalo, knowing this, chose not only a man who looked like him, but also paid for his dental treatment.
¿Cómo va Mateo de los dientes? ¿Ya mejor?
Sí, su dentista trabajó tanto.
In this way, a doctor, set up by Lalo, entered the results of this random man's exam and signed them as Lalo's. Thus, when bodies were found in Lalo's house that looked like Lalo, dental exams were performed and showed a match with Lalo's records. So it was deemed that the remains belonged, attention please, to Lalo. In reality, they were a plant. Lalo did this so everyone would think he was dead. Both Gustavo Fring and his own flesh and blood. Thanks to this, he could operate in secret and move on to his ultimate plan. Season 6, Episode 7. 6, 7. 6, 7.
No! 6, 7. I don't get it. 6, 7. 6?
Okay, I didn't make that joke. Blame Giancarlo Esposito. Back to plan and execution. That's the name of this episode. Lalo executes his plan from the shadows. For several days, he's been living literally in the sewers, watching Gus's meth lab construction and trying to expose him. He only came out for a moment to shower at a gas station and, importantly, to take a nap. Exactly for 1 hour. Lalo suffers from insomnia. He doesn't tell us directly, but he told Nacho once shortly before Nacho stabbed him in the back.
Yeah, I never sleep much. An hour, maybe 2. It's enough. When it's like this, that's when I can think. I get my best ideas when everybody else is asleep. Some people, they call it a curse. I like it.
We see it now too, when he set his alarm for exactly 1 hour and opened his eyes before it even went off. You know who else has insomnia? In one of the episodes where Saul was sabotaging Howard Hamlin's life, Howard confided in him that he was struggling with a lack of sleep.
You ever have insomnia? Wouldn't wish it on the worst enemy.
In this episode, very ironically, Lalo murdered Howard. He put him to sleep forever. The tension that had been building throughout the season found its outlet in this very scene. To us, Howard was someone important. We got to know his problems over 6 seasons. You might not have liked him, he made a few ill-considered decisions from our perspective, but he certainly didn't deserve the fate he met because of Lalo. To Lalo, he was just another pawn. He used him solely to instill even more fear in Saul and Kim, so they'd be too afraid to refuse being his errand boys. By the way, he only used them for a small part of his plan, a distraction. That's what he wanted so he could attack Gus alone. He managed to do it brilliantly. He even fooled Mike. There was only one problem: plot armor. Lalo would have wiped Gus off the board. He was literally walking him down the plank on a pirate ship and filming it to boot. Unfortunately, he remembered that the events of Breaking Bad had already aired, so he couldn't kill Gus, and tragically let himself be outplayed. If Better Call Saul had been filmed before Breaking Bad, things would have taken a completely different turn. Lalo would have likely exposed Gus to Don Eladio, the Salamancas would have taken over the business to an even greater extent, and Breaking Bad would have had to take a completely different track. Unfortunately, Lalo died. So let's analyze what that scene looked like.
Badass dad.
Look at him. He's just been mortally shot, but he's smiling, happy that he got to witness it. He wasn't interested in victory. He loved the chaos he unleashed. And, looking slightly ahead, Lalo had the last word in his duel with Gus. Look at Fring's death scene. An iconic image, one of the most cult classic scenes in the series. Walter rigged a bomb to Hector's wheelchair, which was activated by his bell, the bell that Lalo had given him earlier.
Ding, ding, ding.
To sum up, Lalo is a soulless sociopath. He killed not only bad people who were part of the game, like immigrant smugglers
I told you. Be nice.
or assassins coming for his life, but he also murdered defenseless citizens like Fred the employee or the couple he used to fake his death. He used his intelligence to manipulate everyone around him, and he was genuine, meticulous. He did everything to achieve his goal, and his arrogance was his downfall. And Gus's plot armor. He died, and his body was buried in the ground under the lab where Walter and Jesse later cooked. He is the foundation of Breaking Bad, literally and figuratively. He was buried with Howard Hamlin, and finally, they can breathe a sigh of relief together and sleep forever. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribe and leave a like if you liked that video. Also check my other essays.